Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jake Morris. I'm the CEO of Sit Device in Wokingham. We're starting a little bit early just because I'm terrible at managing my diary. So I've had to rush Annette into this, but I'm sure we'll do just fine. So we're joined today by Annette, who is the manager at Wokingham Foodbank. So, and as I was just saying, what we normally do is just have you introduce your charity and what your role is there. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your food bank?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I am, Annette Medhurst, and I am the manager at Wokingham Foodbank. And I suppose the bottom line is that we take in donations of food and other essentials, so toiletries and cleaning products from the community, and we distribute them to people who can't afford to buy them themselves. We have sort of collection points at different sort of supermarkets across the area. We collect from them, we sort through the stock. And then we accept referrals from a lot of different organisations across the borough, places like yourselves at Citizens Advice, lots of different departments of a local authority, schools, different charities. And when they're working with people, they can then refer them in to our services, make a referral in, and the client is able to come in and collect a parcel of food that will last them hopefully for a small number of days. As another way of supporting that family or that household. And we're an entirely voluntary run organisation. Our premises are in a town centre, sort of hidden away a little bit, which is quite good for us. It's discreet. For some of the people, who maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable about using our services sometimes. But yeah, we've been there for a few years, and while Wokingham, I think, is a very affluent area. So I think people don't often realise that there's a food bank in Wokingham, but there are pockets of deprivation, and it's an expensive place to live. And all it can take is your boiler packing up or your car breaking down, and people can be faced with some very difficult decisions that they have to make about how they spend their money in that month. And sometimes we're there to be able to help them through a very difficult time in their lives, to be able to support them with a few essentials.
Yeah, and absolutely. I just wrote on a chat to you. Your mic's breaking up a little bit, so I just don't know if it's plugged in fully or anything. But we could still hear everything you said anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely, and that's certainly our experiences. A lot of the clients that come to us who then sort of need that emergency food parcel. It's a situation they've never expected to be in, but life can change so quickly, and circumstances can change so quickly as well. And certainly if you look at it, it can only take a missed benefits payment, a disability benefits payment. It can be an issue with a fan that you've received that suddenly means that you're over budget that month. So it's an absolutely vital resource for people to be able to rely upon. So you're a bit similar to us in that you are a local independent charity. As you said, you've got your base locally, you've got a local trustee board, you've got a local manager, which is yourself, but you're part of a national body. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so our food bank is part of the Trussell Trust network of food banks, which there are hundreds of spread across the country. So we are an independent charity, and we operate as such, but it does give us that sort of that network of similar organisations that we can kind of get advice, guidance from, which has been very, very useful during this period of time, obviously, to make sure that everything that we're doing is keeping everyone as safe as possible. We're following as best practice, and we use some of our IT stuff and the databases that we use to sort of manage the referrals that come in, and I think it's really good to be able to talk to other organisations who do the same sort of thing as us, in other parts of the country, to see how are they doing things, are there lessons that we can learn from them. And we have a sort of a network of us that we talk on quite a regular basis to sort of get ideas, talk about what we're doing, what's going well, but also talk about what the challenges are in the future and how we might take steps to address those.
And I'm assuming especially relevant for you given how new you were to the organisation.
Yeah, so I sort of had a handover in February, and I guess officially took over at the start of March, and then all of a sudden we found ourselves in a global pandemic. And as all organisations, all charities, schools, businesses found themselves in this position where you make choices and decisions, and then a week later the guidance has changed, and so all these things that these ideas that you had, or the documentation that you drafted, was all out of date already. So it's it has been very much a baptism of fire for me coming in, but I've learned ever such a lot, and it's been a great way for me to meet lots of other organisations as well, and talk about their practice and how they do things, and hopefully all those sorts of, we've been thrown together in a sense, but hopefully there'll be a lot of good relationships market moving forward as well.
And I think because obviously we do want to talk about coronavirus and how that's impacted your organisation, but I do think the standout thing for me, because I said, our community always needs to be able to rely upon the food bank, because it is basic essentials of things that they're going to need to be able to live comfortably, what I would possibly say. But I think for you couldn't just close your building and then say, right, we're going to have to, you had to find a way to be able to still deliver. Yeah. Whereas we could then, and it wasn't an easy option, but we could then say, right, we're closing the offices, but we are going to be working from home. We'll do everything that we normally do anyway. You never had that option. So what did you then do when you were planning for coronavirus?
Yeah, very much so. And I think when it all started, we obviously realised we weren't in a position to close our doors and just say all the volunteers can work from home. We still had our food that was coming in, mm-hmm. needed to be distributed. In normal times, our clients would come in and collect their food parcels. And actually, for a very short period, we tried to maintain that, but it became apparent very quickly it wasn't possible. Nobody was safe doing that. So we moved over to a delivery model, and we sort of piggybacked on the community hub network of volunteer drivers, which worked very well for us at the start. But as it became apparent that we were going to need to be delivering food parcels for actually, more than a small number of weeks, we actually teamed up with British Gas. They've got a relationship with the Trussell Trust, and we used furloughed engineers. Which was fantastic for us. And they've got big vans; they can fit a lot of food parcels in them to be able to distribute. And obviously, our patch is very big as well. I mean, I think people think that we operate within Wokingham town, but we cover the whole borough. So we are delivering food parcels out to places like Swallowfield, or up to Woodley, up to Ruscombe, all over the place. So the British Gas drivers and the network of sort of volunteer drivers was absolutely critical for us, really, to be able to still get our food parcels out. And gradually over time, a lot of those people are going back to work now. And so we have opened up, so clients are now able to come and get their food parcels again. So we're sort of transitioning away from deliveries, but quite slowly. So if people still need a delivery, they can still access it at the moment. But we are slowly getting people to come back in as well.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's right. And I think the partnership is fantastic. And I saw some of the pictures of some of the British Gas team coming along to take that photo and stuff. And I think that's great. It's a really good partnership. And a lot of them live local as well, don't they? Wasn't that part of the arrangement?
Yeah, some of them do. Relatively scattered, to be honest. But it's worked exceptionally well for us. And actually, they're not volunteer driving for us anymore, and sort of that phase of the partnership or the relationship has come to an end. But off the back of this, they do want to continue to sort of look at ways in which they can support food banks, and we've got a community champion from British Gas now, and we will be looking at ways sort of in the future how they can still do things to help us out and support us, which is brilliant. And they very much had a can-do attitude, which I think everyone in the sort of charity and voluntary sector has had to have over this period of time, which has been so challenging. And that was definitely mirrored from the support that we had from that organisation, which was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I shared. It came at a great time because you were in a situation, because obviously we have calls throughout the week, each week, as you know, over the last 16 weeks, there were times where it was just, as you say, impossible for people to come into the town centre to collect parcels, and you needing to, get loads of volunteers doing all the different stuff as well to try and coordinate that to deliver parcels, but it just took up far more time. So being able to rely upon them certainly is great. Do you have any figures on the amount of people and stuff that you've helped over that time? I know you were keen to talk about how you've carried on doing the values of what your food bank is about, so you continue to support people in poverty.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, in normal times, I mean, the food bank kind of probably receives, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 referrals a week. And it went up to sort of 70 referrals a week. And I think over the sort of lockdown period, we've probably fed, I think it's somewhere in the region of, 2,500 people. And for us, it is a tremendously high number for the Wokingham area. And we will continue to do that. I mean, our numbers are starting to come down slightly, but we anticipate when the furlough scheme comes to an end, sort of in the autumn, there will be redundancies. I think that's the reality. And I think that there will be people who need to come to us for support. We think the numbers have gone down a little bit at the moment, possibly, some people have been able to go back to work. A lot of people who've been furloughed, actually 80% wasn't enough for them to pay their bills and to be able to afford to buy food. So people have gone back, but I do worry about the sort of the future redundancies, and the school holidays are coming. People who've got young families, a lot of schools will be closed over the summer, and people are still struggling to be able to provide food. So we've gone over our peak of sort of number of referrals, but while it's sort of gone down a bit, I feel it's allowed us to take a breath, to reflect on what we've done, what things have worked very well, what things maybe we would need to change if we do have a second peak. But I think, we're in a sort of a strong position really for our numbers to start rising again in the autumn, which is sadly what we anticipate will probably happen.
Yeah, it is. And as you say, it is sad, because it is absolutely what we anticipate. And we're certainly seeing a lot of redundancy inquiries at the moment that will obviously make progress, unfortunately, over the next couple of weeks and months now. And I think that's the other, I think for me, important bit about this conversation. And we obviously met in February when you took over at the food bank. For you, relationships is also, I suppose for every charity, of course, but for you, relationships with other charities is important, because you rely upon referrals, so that you need other organisations to make that assessment.
Yeah, no, very much so. Actually, it's obviously it was great coming to meet you in February when I first started, and it's something that I want us to be able to do as an organisation, as a food bank, to develop these relationships with other organisations, to make sure that the client who is referred to us from, their school, actually is able to get full support from other organisations in the area that maybe, they're not on someone else's radar. So I would like to see us be in a position to do more signposting for some of our client base that comes in, so that they have access to all of the support that they really need, and they're entitled to, actually, as well. So so that's definitely a very positive thing that's come out of this very challenging period, is the ability to engage in much more dialogue with the different organisations across the borough.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly for us, as we talked about when you visited, whenever we make a referral for the food bank, there's always other support that's then needed. So benefit checks, income checks, debts, all those other issues that sort of come up. So certainly key relationships there. Are there any? And obviously it might be too early to think about, but are there any lessons that you've learned from coronavirus times that are going to help you with the planning of the food bank in the future?
I think at the moment, in terms of moving forward, one of our biggest challenges, this isn't a lesson learned, it's a challenge that we've got, is actually our premises. A lot of organisations obviously are predominantly working from home and trying to work out sort of the best way of getting people in to maintain social distancing. At the food bank, obviously we have remained open in a sense, but our space is very narrow. Our building's not great. We've actually had to cut the number of volunteers that we've got coming in half, actually, to ensure that we maintain social distancing. And our clients that come in to pick up their food parcels, in normal times, they come in, they can sit down, have a chat with a volunteer, and we can enter in, some sort of dialogue with them about, do you have pets? Do we need to be able to provide you pet food? Do you need nappies? Do you have any dietary requirements? And I think, at the moment, because of our space, we can only have one person in at a time. And at some point, the deliveries will dry up. That, come the autumn, we're not going to be able to sustain that in the longer term. And I'm concerned about people queuing actually outside the food bank. The winter is a long way away, but it is coming, and it will be cold. And the food bank is geographically located essentially in the middle of a car park. So there is the potential for our premises to be quite challenging if our numbers go up. There are a lot of positive things that I think we've changed. We're doing a lot of our referrals electronically now, the referrals that we get coming in from you at Citizens Advice. And I think it has taken this situation to force us to do some things a bit differently, which have actually, are brilliant. We should have done that sooner. It's a very efficient way of being able to work with other organisations, make sure we capture all the information that we need so that we can best support our client base. So there are some very sort of positive things that we've had to change, which actually we will carry on in the future moving forward, which is very good.
No, I think it's great, and I think you and the team have all done a brilliant job. You're entirely volunteers as well, aren't you? Which I think is important to point out as well. So done a fantastic job, and as I've repeated, I think it's a total whirlwind for you, given you literally came to see us about what we could do, and suddenly all that was out the window because we had to respond to a crisis and play the role that we had. So
I think when you start a new role, you have a list of things that maybe you want to do, and these are the things I want to learn really quickly. These are the things that I want to investigate. Could we change? What needs to stay the same? And actually, this whole period it will make me think about those things in a different way. And at some point, when things do calm down, and I can kind of revisit that list I had at the beginning, I will be much better informed to know who the right people to speak to, and what maybe are better choices for us to make as a food bank to sort of best support the community moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think before we go, there's sort of three key themes then for me about what's next. So are you looking for volunteers? Can people volunteer for you? Is that something that you're looking at the moment?
Currently not. If we do need any more volunteers, we will advertise through the Wokingham Volunteer Centre, which we've done recently and has been very successful. And I'm very, we've had like a lot of organisations, a tremendous number of people have contacted us about volunteering. And because we've had to reduce the number of volunteers that actually come into the food bank, we haven't been able to take up very many of these people. We do have people on file that hopefully we'll be able to bring in the autumn, but a lot of our volunteers who weren't able to come in for a while, I know they're hoping to come back in. But at the moment, our volunteer base is stable. But if we need people, we will advertise on the Volunteer Centre website, which has worked very well for us in the past.
Yeah. So if people just keep an eye out there.
Yeah.
The next one would be, if people need food, how are they going to access it?
Most people, if they just contact me and we don't have time for any kind of dialogue, I direct them to you. I direct them to the one front door. I say, get in touch with the Citizens Advice. They can talk through your situation, signpost you accordingly, and make a referral into the food bank. But a lot of schools refer into us. If you've got children, speak to someone at school. Lots of different charities, first days refer into us. Lots of different departments, the local authority, the social workers, family workers, people at children's centres, people at churches. So a whole host of different organisations. But for a lot of people at the moment who I think are in kind of quite a crisis period, a lot of them need additional support that they would get from Citizens Advice. So I would encourage people to get in touch with you guys, and then they can get all of the support that they need with regard to their financial situation at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we go, you often, because you've talked about how people are very generous here, so you do get a lot of food donations, but often there's certain things that you always need. What is that you would say that you need from people at the moment?
Tinned potatoes, deodorant, washing up liquid, and small packets of washing powder. People are very generous, but some people donate things that you could see from space, and they're very heavy. They're heavy for our delivery drivers, and they're also heavy for some of our clients that come maybe with a buggy to be able to push their sort of food home. But we do update our website on a very regular basis, and our Facebook page as well. So we do try at least every 2 weeks to update what our latest stock needs are. But yeah, we are very fortunate. And I think one day we ran out of toothbrushes, and I put a photo of an empty tray on Facebook, and we were inundated. The community is extremely responsive. We're very fortunate.
It's just brilliant, which is what we need, isn't it? To make sure that you can thrive really and support people in the community.
Definitely.
Okay, well, there's your website, just in case you want it, and that's great. I think that's been really useful. So thank you very much, Jeanette, for coming along. And once again, well done to you and all your team for everything that you're doing. And I think I've said this to most charities, certainly privately, but I think I yearn for the day where you can actually take a break without feeling that you're going to miss out on anything. So hopefully you'll be able to take a break soon as well.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
cool. Thank you, Annette. Thanks for that.
All right,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.